Welcome back everyone, and thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be doing more contemporary types of voicings in the key of F major. Alright, we know F major. F is 1, G is 2, A is 3, B flat's 4, C is 5, D is 6, E is 7, and F is 1. Okay, so on the 1 we know the 1 is typically going to be a major voicing, so we can play it as a regular F major, as an F major triad. So on my left hand I'm playing the 1 and the 5. Oftentimes when we play the 1 and the 5 in the left hand, we call that a power chord. So I'm playing the 1 and the 5. My right hand is just going to play the F major, F, A, and C. Okay, now also I can suspend this and play it as a sus2 chord, meaning that instead of playing that third tone, that A, I'm going to play the second tone, the G. So I have F, G, and C in my right hand. Okay, so that's your sus2, or I can play this as a sus4. To play it as a sus4, instead of playing the third in the F major, I go up to the fourth. So I get F, B flat, and C in my right hand, and again I'm playing the power chord in my left. Okay, so we got the major, the sus2, the sus4, right? Also, you can just add the 2 or add the 9, which is basically playing a regular F major and add that 2 in there. Okay, that's always a shortcut or way to fatten up your major triad, is just to add the 2 to it. Right? Also, because the 1 is major, I can play this as a major 7th chord. And we know to form the major 7th chord, we find the third tone of the chord that I want to make it a major 7th. So the third of this is going to be that A, and we play that as a minor. So I'm going to play A minor in my right hand, A, C, and E. Right? And then I can play that A minor in different inversions. And that gives me that major 7th sound. Okay? Another option here is to play a major 11th. Is to play a major 9th. How do I form the major 9th? I find the 5th tone of that F major, 1, 3, and 5, right? So that's C, and play a C major chord, right? So C major is C, E, and G, and you can play it in different inversions. Okay, so that's my major 9th sound. And then we know we have the rule on the chordals where you can play the chordal chord off of the 3rd, 2nd, 7th, or 6th scale degree. So the 3rd scale degree is 1, 2, 3 is A. So I'm going to form a chordal chord off of the A. So that's going to be A. Up from A, the 4th is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be D. So I'm going to play that together and then go up another 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4. So A, D, and G. When I play that sounds pretty good too. So that's me forming the chordal chord off of the 3rd scale degree of F. Also, you can do it off of the 2nd scale degree of F, which is going to be G, C, and F. Also, you can do it off of the 7th scale degree of F, which is going to be E. And then off of the 6th scale degree, which is D. Alright? So those are different ways that you can voice the 1 in the key of F major. As a review, you have a regular F major, sus2, sus4, add the 2 or add the 9. You can play it as a major 7th, right? Or more like a major 9th. And then you have those quarter voicings. Okay, all different ways that you can voice the 1. So now let's look at the 2. The 2 in the key of F major is G. And we know that the 2, according to the number system, is typically minor. So I can play it as a regular minor chord, which would be G, B flat, and D, right? Or I could play this as a minor 7th. We form the minor 7th by finding the 3rd tone of that minor chord. That's the 1, the 3, which is going to be B flat, and playing a major, B flat major over that G minor. So B flat major is B flat, D, and F. And again, I can play that in different inversions. And that gives me a good minor 7th sound. Okay? Now you can play this as a minor 9th by finding the 5th tone of that G minor chord. So that's the 1, the 3, and the 5 is D. And now if I form a minor chord off of that D, like a D minor, that's D, F, and A, now it gives me a minor 9 sound. And again, I'm just changing the inversions here. Okay, so that's what you can do there. And then you can also play this as a minor 11th. How do we form the minor 11th? Go a whole step down from my root. So my root is G, because this is a G minor chord. So if I go a whole step down, that's going to be F. And I play that as a major chord. So F, A, and C in the right hand. Left hand's playing G, B flat, and D. And then I'm inverting that F major chord in my right hand. Okay. So we've covered the G minor 7th, the G minor 9, and the G minor 11th. Now there are some things that you can do with regards to chordal chords here, right? Like you can play a chordal chord off of the G itself. So G, C, and F over that G minor, which sounds pretty good, okay? And you can do it off of that 3 too. Excuse me, off of the third tone. So 1, 2, 3. The third tone of F is what I'm referring to. And play the A, D, and G. Okay, and it sounds pretty good. So those are some options of what you can do on the 2. Let's look at the 3. 1, 2, 3. We know the 3 is going to be A. The third tone is typically minor. So you can play it as a regular minor chord, A, C, and E, right? You can play it as a minor 7th by finding the third scale degree and playing it major. So the third is 1, 3, so the 3 is going to be C. So I can play a C major over that, and I can invert it, which is C, E, and G. That's my minor 7th sound. I can make it a minor 9th by finding the 5th tone of the A major, of the A minor chord. So A, C, and E. E is the 5, so if I play an E minor in my right hand, I get E, B, and G. And I'm inverting that E minor, and so that gives me a nice A minor 9 type of sound, right? And then you can play this as a minor 11th by playing, finding the tone that's a whole step down from my root. So my root is A. One whole step down from that is 1, 2 is G. So if I play a G major in my right hand, G, B, and D over that A minor chord, that gives me that A minor 11th sound. Okay. Now we always talk about how the third tone can either be used as a tone that you actually land on or that you use as a passing tone. We're focusing more on the 3 in this particular lesson as a landing tone as opposed to a passing tone. So this is going to be a main thing that you would actually play and sit on for a while as opposed to passing to something else, okay? But there's some other rules on the 3 that you should know about. One of those being that anything that you do on the 1, technically speaking, you can do on the 3. So the 3 is A, right? So I could play the 1 chord over that, which is F, right? I can play it as a major. I can play it as a sus2. Technically speaking, I can play it as a sus4 also. Okay? And then the same rules apply. I can do the chordal chord that's a whole step below. So a whole step below my root, which is A, is going to be G, and form a chordal chord there. And it sounds good. Okay, so those are some things that you can do on the 3. Let's take a look at the 4th tone. The 4th tone, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to be B flat. Before we cover those chords, I just want to remind you, if you're enjoying this content or if you're finding it helpful, please make sure you like, click, and subscribe to the channel. Alright, now on to the 4. The 4 is typically going to be major, right? So we can play it a regular B major, which is going to be B flat, right? D, and F. And I'm just changing the inversions in my right hand. Okay, let's play this down here. Sounds a little bit better there. Alright, so you can play it as a regular major chord. You can play it as a major 7th chord by finding the third scale degree. So 1, 3, which is D, and playing that as a minor chord, right? So if I play that D minor over that B flat major, then I get a B flat major 7th. So that's the D, F, and A is the D minor, and you can invert it, right? And it sounds really nice. Okay, so that's how you can get a major 7th sound. I can get a major 9th sound by finding the 5th, which is 1, 3, and 5, the 5th of the chord that I want, which is B flat, right? Find the 5 of that, which is F, and playing a major chord in my right hand. So that's F, A, and C, and I'll invert that. When you play it together, you get a really nice major 9th type of sound. Okay, so we covered the major chord, the major 7th, the major 9th. Now, of course, If it's a regular major chord, you can do a sus2, which means play the 2, which is B flat C, that's the 2, and F. Instead of the B flat D and F, play the C or the 2. You can make it a sus4 chord by, instead of playing the 3, you play the 4. Okay? So you can do sus2, the sus4, the major 7th, the major 9th, right? And then you can do that add 9, which is, or the add the 2, which basically says play the regular triad, B flat, D, and F, right? And then add the C in there. And it sounds nice and full, alright? Okay, that's another option. And then again, anytime you're playing a major chord, you can play the chordal, you can do the chordal trick. That's so the chordal trick says off, you can play a chordal chord off of the 3rd scale degree of that chord. So 1, 2, 3. So chordal chord off of the D is D, G, and C. Off of the 2 is 1, 2, which is C, F, and B flat. So you get it off the 3, off of the 2, off of the 7, which is going to be the A. So A, D, and G. And the 6, which is G, C, and F. So together, 3, 2, 7, 6. Alright, so all of those are different ways that you can voice the 4th scale degree. Let's look at what you can do on the 5. In the key of F major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 is going to be C, so you can play that as a regular major chord, right? You can make it a sus2. You can play it with an added 2 in it, right? So regular major is just C, E, and G, right? sus2 says instead of playing that 3rd, I'm going to play the 2nd, right? Or because it's a major, you can add that 2, so you can play the, or add that 9, so you can play the 1, 3, and 5, and add the 2nd, right? Now on the 5, typically we use that as a transition to get you back to the 1. So you can either play the 5 as a regular major, where you sit on it for a while, or you can use it as a way to pass back on to the 1. And since that happens in pretty much every song ever written, I figured we'd go ahead and give you some options for that now. So one of the things that you can do on the 5 is you can play the 4 as a major. So the 4 would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can play a B flat major over that C to take me back to the 1. 5, 1. Alright, in addition to playing the 4 over it, right, I can actually make that 4 a sus2 chord. B flat sus2 over that 5, and then back to the 1. Okay. Another thing that you can do is you can play the 4 as a major 7th. So that would be B flat, D, F, and a major 7th would be the A. So the 5, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1. Okay, so that's some things that you can do there. Another thing that I really like to do is I really like to play that 4 as a diminished, right? So you're on the, let's say you do the 2, 5, Alright, so for that 5, I'm playing the power chord again in my left hand. My right hand is finding the 4, right? Before I can play it as like a major 7th, now I can change it to a diminished 7th, which would be B flat, D flat, E, and G. And you can invert it, right? So that's something you can do. Another thing that you can do is find the 3rd scale degree. So in the key of F, 1, 2, 3 is going to be an A. And so on that C, I can play an A major. Woo! That's tense, right? So let's say you're on the 2. So you're on the 1, 2, 5, 1. See what I did that? See what I did there? I did that 5, I did the B flat major 7th, or the 4 major 7th. And then you can do the 4 diminished 7th. And you can throw in that 3 major. Now, honestly, it would be a lot to do all of those things at once, but I'm just giving you options of things that you can put in there tastefully, okay? You don't want to over-season your food, all right? You want to make sure that you just drop this in there, you know, here and there and things like that, according to the melody and to what you're hearing and things like that, and the feel that you're going for. All right, so that's some things that you can do on the 5. Then one of my favorite things to do is where you do that West Coast move. Right, so you're on the 2, right, 5, 1. So for this, on the 5, on that C and G on the left hand, my right hand's going to find the 7th tone of F major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is E, and form a quarter chord. Right, E, A, and D, and then I move it down a whole step to the D, G, and C, or I'm playing it off of the 7th and then off of the 6th tone. So 4, 5, right to the 1. All right, so there's some things that you can do on the 5. Let's take a look at the 6. The 6 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is going to be D. Right? So on the 6 you can play your 4 as a major chord. Your 4 is going to be B flat, so you can play a B flat over it, B flat, D, and F. Of course you can make it a sus2, which basically says instead of playing that D, the 3rd tone, play the 2, which is the C. Right? Or you can play it as the add 2 chord, which is B flat, D, and F, or add that 2 or the 9, B flat, C, D, and F. Right? And that works really well when you're walking it up from the 6 to the 7th, which we'll talk about, to the 1. Okay, so 6, 7, 1. Alright, we'll talk about that in a moment on the 7th tone. But anyway, so on the 6 you can play a variation of the 4. Major, sus2, or add the 2. Alright? Then also on the 6, it's typically going to be a minor chord of some sort. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can play it as just a D minor, depending upon the sound that I'm looking for. So that's D, F, and A. That's a D minor. I can play it as a minor 7th by finding the 1, which is F, and playing that as a major. You can look at it as playing the 1 as a major, or the 3rd tone of your minor chord, which is going to be F, and finding that as a major. You can use that rule too, whichever one works best for you. Okay, so we got that happening there. Alright, minor 7th. You can make this a minor 9th by finding the 5th scale degree, 1, 3, 5, the A, and playing that as a minor. So that's A, C, and E, and I'm just inverting it. Right? Or you can make this a minor 11th by going a whole step down below the root, which is D. So a whole step down from D is C. So in my right hand, I'm going to form a C major chord. C, E, and G over that D minor. And that gives me my D minor 11th sound. Alright? So those are some things that you can do on the 6. Also, you can play around with that quarter chord, which is going to be D, G, and C. The quarter chord off of the minor that you're on. And also the one that's a whole step above it, which is E. Okay. So that was E, A, and D, or D, G, and C. Okay. And of course, when you're playing that C major over the D minor to give you that minor 11th sound, you can do that sus2. That C major as a sus2. So that's some things that you can do on the 6th. And as I mentioned a moment ago, on the 7th, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is going to be the E. On the E, you can play it as a major chord, the 5 major, which is going to be C major, C, E, and G. So let's say you were here on the 6th, you played the 4 over it, right, over the 6. On the 5, you play, on the 7, you play the 5 over it. And you can do that as a C major, a 5 major, or a 5 sus2, which basically says, again, instead of playing that 3rd, I play the 2nd. And that takes you to the 1. Alright, so you can play that 5 major, 5 sus2, 5 add 2, or you can do the quarter that's a whole step below. So if it's E, then I'm going to go down a whole step, which is D, and form the quarter, which is D, G, and C. Okay? And you can do that same thing on the 6. You can play the whole step below as a quarter, which is going to be C. So 6, 7, 1. Alright, so those are ways that you can harmonize each tone of the diatonic scale of F major with some more contemporary, fatter, and fuller type of voicings. Alright, I hope this lesson is a blessing to you. Make sure that you like, click, and subscribe to the channel, because every single Saturday I'm going to be posting more videos, more tutorials. Right now, this series is focusing on how to build more contemporary, fuller, and fatter chords, and how to voice each tone of each diatonic major scale. So right now we're in the key of F. Next Saturday, next weekend, we're going to be covering F sharp or G flat. Alright, again, I hope this is a blessing to you. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, God bless you, and goodbye.